Alrighty. So, while typically I at least give YouTube the courtesy of having 15 seconds before any profanity, I don't give a fuck tonight. Tonight has been an absolute shit show at work. Let me tell you how I fucking hate with a passion more than anything else in this world somebody who doesn't have enough fucking respect to sit there and not talk over somebody. It's bad enough when you do that to somebody in a conversation repeatedly with no fucking remorse. That is one thing completely different than anything else in this world. Mrs. Draco, Blue, and I constantly talk over one another. I try, out of respect, because I don't want to become a hypocrite, because I get so angry when someone talks over me, I try not to talk over them. Neither one of them really cares. But they will talk over one another and me at pretty much any point, because the two of them, just their natural tendencies are just basically finishing other sentences and shit like that. But what I cannot stand is when you're calling in to a company. You're calling with the express purpose of trying to get assistance because something of yours is not working properly. You call into an oxygen company because your oxygen equipment isn't working right. You'd think that someone would have enough fucking respect to not talk over the agent that they get, especially when said agent has been with the company for multiple years and has some experience with the equipment, kind of knows what the fuck they're talking about. You'd think that would be the case. However, as it invariably always fucking happens, you get an asshole that not only is doing it, but wants to pretend like they're sorry about it and apologize and then continue to fucking do it anyway. I cannot stand people that do that shit, but the worst culprits are those that do that fucking shit right there. The ones that pretend like they give a fuck. It is so irritating having to deal with that bullshit. But I'm not going to sit here for this entire video and complain about work. While I could very easily do so, I could go on an hour-long tangent or more about work if I wanted to. The fact remains that this series is a byproduct of the bullshit that I go through at work, not necessarily my sounding board for it. Now the Contin's a little bit calmer, having to get all that bullshit off of my chest. I don't know, honestly, what really there is to talk about. I kind of use you guys a little bit when you do comment on the videos to really know kind of what more to touch on, things like that. But I can say for sure that it's been a bit of a bust the last couple of weeks. People's schedules not lining up for the most part for the first live stream of immoral comments. Gaius is 100% in. Lillian is in, obviously. She's going to be helping me with streaming. But it's a matter of getting schedules lined up, knowing in advance, that kind of thing. So, still aiming to try and do this coming Thursday, which is the 20th, I believe it is. I'll get back to you guys on that. Once I have confirmation that everything's green across the board, I will set the official date on that and let everybody know. Because I'm going to be 100% honest, I'm really not expecting any big turnout. You know, I would appreciate even 2 or 3 people showing up to the stream. That'd be awesome. As it is, I don't even know for sure that we're going to have any, long length of time, because being that this is, in fact, going to be the first live stream that I do, I don't even know how long YouTube allows someone to stream for. I know that the longer you go, the bigger, subscribers and things like that are, the more you can stream, or longer that you can stream or something like that. I don't know. So, that remains to be seen. But more than anything, immoral comments, and I'll kind of put a disclaimer. Like I said last week, when you get a grouping of Dracos together in any type of a setting where sugarcoating is not necessary, we'll say, things do get very chaotic seeming. So definitely bear that in mind. Draco family is not PG by any means. There are definitely things that have occurred in quote-unquote public that would definitely get somebody banned on YouTube. Mind you, this is... So I guess that's kind of where we're at this point in the series, is for me to kind of really go over who the Draco family are. Now, I've gone over in the past, how Melchior and Gaius are 2 of the original family members. They, with Rose, Contin, Lucy, and Celeste, were the original 6 members of the family. Shortly after that, Alcara joined the family. Actually, no, I'm incorrect. Alcara was one of the original 6, not Celeste. Celeste came a little bit later, as part of the Draco family. Although technically, before it was known as the Draco family. Yeah, so here's a little bit more backstory, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. So, in a couple of more generations back, when we get down to Drakesender and the Draco family line, some of this will make more sense, because I'm going to be going deeper into his actual backstory, which is kind of what this pertains to a little bit. What the Draco family was before being known as the Draco family, I guess technically it was the Cinder family, since before I went by Contin, I went by Drakesender online. That was my original screen name that I went with. There were other members of the family prior to that. There was Cad, who was an honorary member more than anything else. since he didn't really want to be part of the family. There was Eve Pendragon, who was a very close friend of mine growing up, who was also technically an honorary member, though everybody in the Draco family looks at her like an aunt. So, not necessarily blood, but she's more of an adopted member than an honorary member, that kind of thing. So that's funny, you guys are actually getting a little bit of cross-series contamination here. Beyond Cad and Eve, there was also Peshtarol and Ari, who were sisters to Drake, in addition to Firestar was the name that she chose to go with, and Water Goddess were the original siblings, and Firestar was more of a niece per se. Now this is definitely going back into a lot of deeper lore for the Draco family. In addition to them, there was also Atreyu, there was Shintail, there was Jake Grias, and a couple of other ones that it'll take me a little bit longer to actually remember the names, because I haven't used those in a very long time. But there was also Tiknaga and a few others. I'm not going to sit here and keep interrupting myself with other names that I just suddenly remember. I'll get to those when we get to that point in the Draco family history. But those were technically the OG Draco family members before the Draco family was even the name of the group. These were all role-play. This was a role-playing group. For anybody that doesn't know, it was kind of like a freeform D&D without dice, if that makes sense. It was mostly an honor system. Generally speaking, everybody up front knew the type of capabilities everybody had, so there was no metagaming, god modding, that kind of thing. Put it in perspective for god modding, for anybody that doesn't recognize the term, basically, you can't be hit, you can't be hurt, and nobody can beat you kind of thing. Now, if you're listening right now, guys, I know what's going through your head. There were things about Contin that almost made it seem like that. However, he was definitely not the strongest. I definitely made it a point to illustrate that in the world our characters inhabited, that the older someone was, the more powerful they were. And Contin had multiple, the Draco family has multiple generations older than Contin that are still around. So there is definitely that. He is not the strongest by far, and he's gotten his ass kicked on more than one occasion. But yeah, I have definitely, since that time, I have nerfed the hell out of him, and done so in character in a way that really can't be reversed. Just because, while it is fun to be able to have a character set up to where you can legitimately deal with anything that comes up, it's definitely more of a challenge when, while you have access to those tools, it's more work to access them. Like, you can't just carry, let's face it, Contin isn't Link. He has access to a lot of shit that's going to help him deal with pretty much anything that comes at him. But the question is what he packs that day, is that going to be what he needs to deal with something that comes at him? So getting back to my point, it's kind of like freeform D&D without the dice. And my original thing that I had brought up about things happening that would get people banned. There was a lot of, how do I word this properly? There was a lot of hippie era type of free loving going on in public settings. So if you understand that comment, awesome, because I'm not going to be explaining further. You don't have to worry about any kind of thing like that anymore, because the Draco family officially started on a 3D messenger. Effectively speaking, you had 3D avatars to really interact with one another, that you can get clothing, you can get actions, you can get items that do all sorts of things, like throwing fireballs, transforming into dragons, transforming into giants, what have you. And the wonderful thing about that is the fact that you could literally, it was just ultimately up to your imagination, the kind of shit that you could do. Because you had the ability to create items as well through their developer program, where you could use credits that you earn through basically just doing random everyday shit, like logging in, talking to people, that kind of thing. Or you can even buy credits, which I will admit I spent growing up, back when the family first started almost 20 years ago, I spent a lot more money than I am ever willing to try and count up, let alone admit, in the realm of hundreds of dollars to get shit. I will leave it at that. I'm not going to really detail my addiction on that for what it was. But yeah, so that kind of thing happened in the public chat rooms that we would hold. And then there's the regular holiday parties that we would have. We would have Christmas parties, we would have Halloween parties, because Lucy was actually into football at the time. I'm really not. Anytime like the Broncos and the Giants, or the Broncos and the Eagles would play, we would have like little mini parties for that kind of thing. Definitely the Halloween parties were our favorite. And every year we also had the Draconian Dynasty Immortal Combat Tournament. Basically, we would have allies of the group, as well as ourselves, putting up credits in an actual role-playing fighting tournament. First prize usually was like, I think, 5,000 to 7,000. Second place was usually 3 to 4, and third was pretty much anything that was just left over of the prize money. There were any number of people who took part. Combat pool size usually ranged anywhere from 8 to like 64. I say 64 because I'm rounding up. I think it was like 62 or 61, something like that. But it was basically treated as 64. Now, any one of the Draco family members that was present for these tournaments, Elkara, Onyx, Lillian, I believe you were there for a couple of them. Unfortunately, Gaius, we never got to see her take part, although I would have loved to be able to see that. But we had, like, if we had a couple of slots that just we needed to round out just to make it a fair number, I would generally throw in an alternate account, as would like Lucy or one of the other family members that really didn't want to take part otherwise. But for the most part, we were the ones hosting it, so it didn't really seem fair for us to take part in it ourselves. But it would go on usually for like a week for the tournament. But everybody's favorite part generally tended to be the grand ball that was always the signaling event to the kickoff of the tournament. Basically, we would set the tournament for whatever the time frame was, or as needed, because, multiple people, it was going to be a matter of we would be able to get maybe 2 or 3 fights if we're lucky to get that many. Fights usually tended to last 2 to 3 hours because of it being completely text-based. Beyond that, the ball would usually see everyone who was helping to sponsor the tournament. So pretty much all the allies, Dark Alices, and what have you. Although Dark Alices usually was the most generous at all times. They usually contributed the most to the actual tournament prize pool. Which Sinful Dragon and I know the motherfucker's name. He's basically Contin's brother, unofficially, but I'll get to his name later at some point. I'll probably stick in the comments if I can remember. But yeah, so that's kind of the whole thing there. So kind of looping back around to the original point, the Draco family can get pretty crazy when we get together with a no-filter situation going on. So definitely be prepared for a lot of insanity, a lot of references that probably will not make sense, and a lot of inside jokes, because there will be plenty of those. Now, going back a little bit more, because I do want to touch base on it. The Legend of Dark Link special video is still being worked on. Let's be perfectly honest here. I'm probably just going to be putting that on a finite pause, because my dumb butt, in succession, I've gotten Tears of the Kingdom, I've got Pokemon Legends Arceus, and Brilliant Diamond to play, and I definitely want to get through those before getting back to fully focusing on anything besides History of Draco and Coffee with Contin. I will be getting back to it. I do want to do that, especially because of how interesting of a character Dark Link actually is. And I'm working on a very special thumbnail for that. But yeah, so there goes that. In addition, I actually, now that I'm really thinking about that thumbnail, I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. It is primarily going to be about Dark Link. I don't know if I'm going to be including anything about any other characters, but I'm not going to spoil the thumbnail. I think you guys will like it, though. But yeah, so initial thoughts on Pokemon Legends Arceus. I've been playing for roughly a week at this point. Already through at about, I want to say like 43 hours. I'm already through the main story, working on collecting the remaining plates. Mark, if you're listening, I know you are currently trying to shiny hunt Arceus. I'm just about caught up with you, buddy, and I've got probably far less time than you do in the game. Not to brag, but that's a fact. I am going to, and I'm going to hate myself for it, probably try and shiny hunt alpha female Eevees, because I do want all shiny female evolutions from in the game. So there is that. Beyond that, I really don't have a whole lot else to go over. Initial thoughts on the game: great storyline. It's surprisingly fast-paced for a Pokemon game, though. It's a lot shorter than you would have thought for a game like that in that style. Although definitely hoping to see more when they do other stories for future games. I would love to see like Pokemon Legends Mew or Pokemon Legends Ho-Oh or Pokemon Legends Rayquaza, for example, that kind of thing. Kind of sticking in the same vein. So yeah, there's that. Also, I figured out that I pretty much have, as far as legendary Pokemon and Delta species for like Zoroark and shit like that, I pretty much have an infinite supply of them. Because I can just connect it to home, I can save the legendaries that I have, and then effectively just go back and restart the game and, transfer the legends again into home and go from there. But that's gonna be it for the video tonight. I wanted to make sure and get this out early for you guys. It is Saturday, but you know how I can be when I get engrossed into a game. Like, time just melts, and before I really have time to think about it, I'm sitting here popping out like a quick 10-15 minute video. So I'm going to go ahead and end it here. As always, thank you guys for your continued support. I love each and every one of you, whether it be morning, evening, noon, or night, what have you, whenever you're listening to this. I hope you have a wonderful day, or hope you had a wonderful day. Again, love each and every one of you. You are the reason why I keep doing these videos. And thank you for your wonderful support. And I will see you guys next time.